Today we continue our series on the powers of Jesus. Last week we talked about the power of Jesus' blood to cleanse us. Today we're going to talk about the power of Jesus to heal us. When you read the New Testament, the witness is that Jesus healed thousands of people. Every village, it says, and all those who were sick were healed. So, in the time of Jesus, the healing power of Jesus was very real. And it's reported to us in the Gospels that he healed many, 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 many people. But now here we are, some almost 2,000 years later, and we do not see that kind of healing going on, or at least in those numbers that we're aware of. It's like somehow or another, there's a difference between our time and the time of Jesus with regard to this healing. So what is the problem here? Why do we not see more of this excitement about the healing power of Jesus? Why do we not see more of it going on? Why do we not hear more about it? Well, I've thought about this for many years and a long time. And it appears to me that the difference is about ignorance. We have forgotten what the healing power of Jesus is all about. Over the 2,000 years, it's been corrupted by human understandings. And those human understandings have given us a wrong impression of what the power of Jesus is to heal. And that is the problem. We do not actually really realize what kind of healing Jesus is offering us and how that healing comes about. We've gotten confused about it, and we find ourselves not really knowing what it is all about and what we must do if we are to experience this power of Jesus to heal. More importantly, not so much what we are to do, but what we are to know in our heads about this healing power of Jesus. So today, I think it would be a wise use of our short time here together to learn more about what this healing really is all about and how we can take more advantage of it in our own human lives. The gospel reading that we just read a few minutes ago about the healing of the blind man is a wonderful gospel story for learning about the healing power of Jesus. How it happens, why it happens, what we are to do to make it happen. And so we'll think about it today. And as I was looking at it this week, meditating upon it, thinking about it, I was able to identify three things in this story that we must know. It's really a matter of knowing these things as opposed to not knowing these things. And as I have said, I think that ignorance is the problem. Like Paul said in the book of Romans, or the letter to Romans, he said, they're not aware of the righteousness of God. They don't know, they don't understand what is the righteousness of God. So let's try to understand it a little better so we can have more of the power of the healing of Jesus in our lives. Now, the first thing that I see in this story that I think is very important for us to know, the blind man Bartimaeus, he knew what kind of healing he really needed. If you listen to the story closely, you hear that he cries out, "Son of God, have mercy on me." He does it several times. "Son of God, have mercy on me." If you're wanting your actual physical eyes to be healed, you would say, "Jesus, have mercy on my eyes. Jesus, have mercy on my blind eyes." But he doesn't say that. He cries out saying, "Have mercy on me." So what that means, I think, to me, is that the healing that Jesus is offering is the healing of mercy. That's what it is. It is a spiritual healing. is the healing of our soul that Jesus is offering. True, we must give God the glory for every physical healing that takes place in our life. But as we learn, the older we get, these physical bodies of ours wear out. You can heal me today, but I will be dead tomorrow. You see, that's the way it works in human life. And so we spend so much of our time praying for physical healings, as if that's the healings that Jesus is making the biggest deal about. But Jesus was actually making the biggest deal about spiritual healing. That's why he came. He did not come to heal people of their little physical illnesses, because everybody knows, and even Jesus knew, you heal a man of sickness today, he will be sick again tomorrow. That's not the big issue. The big issue is the healing of your soul, because when that soul is healed, you are good forever. Nothing can take that away from you. So that's what Jesus came to do. He came to heal us through mercy, but to heal our souls. That's what he came to do. That was the main thing he came to do. And so, instead of using our prayer life to ask God to heal our physical infirmities, which, again, is not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying it's not the most excellent thing. It's not the best thing. Which is better, to ask God to heal your hand or your back, or to ask him to heal your soul? Which do you think is going to do you more good for eternity? Which one? Didn't take much sense to figure that out. It's the healing of your soul that is going to do good for you. And it's the healing of your soul that is going to make you well. That's the problem in our world today. So many of the people in our world are concerned about their physical lives, not their soul, not their spiritual life. Can you imagine what this world would be like if people prayed more for their soul than they did for their body? You ever thought about that? War would cease. We would never have war again. For somebody with a healthy soul never causes a war. But because most of our human beings have no healthy soul, we will have war forever. And a healthy soul does not allow poverty to exist in this world. But because we don't have healthy souls, poverty is great everywhere we look. So the point is, the first thing we need to know, the first thing we need to understand is what kind of healing is Jesus really offering us. And the kind of healing that he is really offering us is a healing for our soul, that which determines how we will live our life, that which determines what is our values and our beliefs, and more importantly, that which is our faith, you see. That's what Jesus is offering to heal in us. Because everybody in this world has a sin-sick soul. In the book of Romans, the epistle to Romans, Paul had another great statement, which is quoted so often. He said, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. As the great preacher Martin Luther said during the Reformation, that includes the Pope all the way down to the saddest sinner there ever was. Everybody has a sin-sick soul. So, if Jesus is going to offer healing, why not heal the sin-sick soul? And that is what Jesus offers us. That's what the blind man Bartimaeus knew. And that's why he cried out, have mercy, have mercy. It's mercy I need. This undeserved love, that's what I need. Because if I've got that, then it doesn't make any difference what happens to the rest of me in my life. But if I know I am loved by you, God, undeservedly, unconditionally, I can face anything, I can deal with anything, I can go anywhere, I can do anything, because I know the truth. I am a beloved son or daughter of God. So that's the first thing I think we need to learn. But we don't learn it. I've lived here now 10 years, 11 years. When Rebecca and I used to go out to Guayaquil or to Salinas and we would drive back, the only way to get back into Cuenca was you had to drive down Ordóñez Lasso, Main Street, coming all the way in. And And back in those days, you may not remember this, those of you who've moved here recently, Ordonez Lasso was the worst road in Cuenca. It was filled with potholes, a pothole here, a pothole there, a crack here, a crack there. It was broken to pieces, and we always hated it when we got here because you had to be like a ball in a big pinball machine. You had to go around this way and that way and over this way and over that way just to get back into town. But occasionally the city engineers or whoever they are, they would say, oh, we need to fix Ordonez Lasso. And so they would bring out their asphalt trucks and they would fill in the potholes and they would grade it down and they would shore up the broken shoulders and they would fill in the cracks. And for a while it was a smooth and nice road. And that lasted about 3 months or 4 months. And the next thing you know, guess what? Here comes the potholes again. There goes the shoulder again. Here's more cracks. And they did that for 3 or 4 years consecutively. They did that. And we even commented to ourselves, can't they think of anything else but a superficial fix? How about a real fix? Eventually, praise God, as you now know, Ordonez Lasso is a beautiful, solid, concrete highway with steel reinforced rods, and you don't have any potholes in it. Because somebody finally realized that the short-term fix is a lot worse than how the long-term fix will turn out. That's what I'm trying to say. God offers us a long-term fix. He offers us a new road. He offers us a new life. He says, I don't need you to have this pothole mess of having your little physical problems fixed. I need your soul fixed. And when that's fixed, we're on the way. Then we got a smooth road to heaven, all the way down. That's the point number one. Number two, and this is a really hard one for us. We got to know how sick we are. You see, the human race has very little desire to know how sick it is. It has a great desire to point out how sick everybody else is. We love doing that. We are born to judge. That's what we are. We judge others. We even judge ourselves sometimes. And we judge life. We are the ones who decide what is good and what's bad. Yeah, that's who we are. When I was a very young pastor, just starting out, I was called to jury duty. I'd never been on a jury before. So I decided I wanted to see what that was like. I went to the panel that they had chosen and was hoping maybe I would get chosen because I really wanted to see how that took place. And before they got to me, there was a young man in our group, and they asked him if there was any reason he didn't think he could give an objective and impartial judgment of the situation. And he stood up and he said, well, Your Honor, talking to the judge, he said, I'm a Christian, and in my faith I'm taught I cannot judge anyone. And when he said that, well, the judge said, well, you're dismissed. And he didn't have to serve. So it was coming my turn, and I thought, well, my goodness, I'm a Christian pastor here, so. But I really wanted to know what it was like, and I rationalized to myself then, well, that's my civic duty, and the scriptures do say that we are to obey the government authorities, and so therefore I thought to myself, I'll just be quiet. And I was, and I got on the jury, and it was quite an experience, and I learned a lot about human nature. But after that was all over with, that young man and him standing up and saying what he did just kept echoing in my head, echoing in my head, echoing in my head. And of course the words of Jesus, where Jesus said, judge not, lest you be judged. And you kept hearing that going on and on. So eventually I said, I really need to come to grips with this and try to understand what the reality is. And the more I meditated upon it, the more I thought about it, I realized the reason why Jesus was so against judgment, and the reason why we are taught not to do that is because it is exemplary of our major sin sickness of the soul. You know, you want to ask, well, what is my sin? Your sin is the same as my sin, and that is the tendency to judge others as to whether we think they're good or bad, the tendency to judge whether we think we are successful or not, and the tendency to judge life, to think whether it's fair or unjust. I do it, I'm sure you do it, we all do it. And that is the sickness we have. It manifests itself in all kinds of ways. We begin to be doubtful of God because we judge life and say, well, this don't look like God's doing anything good for me today. Or we become filled with grief because we don't feel like God is going to comfort us, or He's going to see us through the loss of what we've lost. Are we filled with despair because we look at all the bad things happening and we don't believe God's in control anymore? You see, all of it is because we judge things to be what we think they are. That's the sin-sick soul that we have. And every one of us needs to have that soul healed. So if we're going to pray for something, we should really pray that God would heal our tendency to judge. Our tendency to judge others, our tendency to judge ourselves, and our tendency to judge life. You know, if the world would get rid of that one big problem, that we all have this kind of souls, then we wouldn't be fighting among each other. We wouldn't be filled with all this disagreement and all this brokenness that we have in our world today. Because all that would go out the window. That's the answer to what the world faces today, is to pray that your soul would be healed of the tendency to judge others, and that you would be awake, that you would realize that every time you were thinking something was unfair in your life, or you were thinking that you weren't being what you should be, or you were thinking that others were not what they should be, every time you had a thought like that, it would occur to you, uh-oh, my soul's got a fever. Uh-oh, my soul is getting sick. Then you would pray immediately, Lord, heal my soul today. People would be more focused on that than on others and life and what's going on in the world, and it would be great. So that's the second tremendous thing we need to know. We need to know how sick we are, you see. We need to know that we really are sick. It's not us, it's not others we need to worry about. It's not life we need to worry about. It's us. That's who we need to worry about. And if everyone would worry about their own self and their own soul and ask Jesus to heal that, oh, our world would be a lot better off than it is right this minute. So, the third idea that I got out of this passage today came to me when I was realizing how Jesus ends the story. He asks the man, what do you want me to do for you? And of course, he asks that to us as well. And of course, now we understand. I want you to heal me. I want to see that which I cannot see. I can't see my own sinfulness. I can see everybody else's, but I can't see mine. I want you to heal me of my blindness to myself. And then, when Jesus hears that this is what the man wants, and that he trusts that Jesus can give that to him, he says, listen to it, he says, go, your faith has made you well. Huh? Do you hear that? Yeah? No touching, no nothing else going on. Just your faith has made you well. What it's saying to us is that if you really believe that this is what you need to be healed in your soul, and you actually ask Jesus or God or Spirit to heal your soul, to take away your judgment, it is done. You don't have to wait till tomorrow, the next day, 10 days from now, a year from now. The minute you believe it is done, it is done. The minute you believe it is done, it is done. It's an instantaneous healing based upon believing. It's an instantaneous healing based upon believing. We do not realize in this world the power of believing, either for good or for evil. Let me tell you, it's one of the most powerful tools we have, the ability to believe in that which we cannot yet see. And that's the point we need to understand and to know if we are to experience the healing power of God. We don't have to wait for it to take place. We just need to believe it has already taken place. That's the key. When I was a young high school student, one of the things I loved to do, and I've told about it many times before, I loved to play football. I was on the varsity football team, and it's amazing, you can see how things have changed. Back in those days, I think I weighed 170 pounds and was 6 foot tall, and I was a defensive tackle. Today, I wouldn't even be a water boy, but back in those days, that was considered tall and big. So anyway, I was a defensive tackle on our high school football team, and we were doing pretty well, actually. But we were coming up against our cross-town rivals, who always seemed to beat us. But this year that I'm talking about, we were beating everybody else, and it looked like we were going our way for a district championship. And they were the only team that stood in our way, and they had a halfback on their team. I still remember number 32. I can see that number, right to number 32. And he was a short guy, short, but boy was he stocky. He was like a bowling ball, basically. Powerful runner, let me tell you. He had perfected the idea of raising up one's knees when one runs so that anybody that tries to tackle you gets kicked in the gut with his knees. He was powerful, he was fast, and he was causing them to defeat many teams. And of course, being a defensive tackle, that was my primary job, was to stop him on my side, and the other defensive tackle was to stop him on that side. But he liked to run toward my side more than he liked to run the other way. And it was my job to stop him, which was not something most people could do. We would watch the films of other teams that had played him, and most of the defensive tackles were eating grass every day because of his speed, his strength. He was something. And they actually called him Cannonball. That was his name, Cannonball 32. And you knew he was coming at you. Of course, you had to get rid of the offensive tackle first. And then once you got past him, it was your job to stop number 32. Well, the game began, and I was ready to go. I had practiced and worked out, and I was as strong as I could be, and I'd watched all the films, and I knew some of his moves, and I thought, man, I'm going to try my best. So I went out there to try my best, but there was still this doubt in the back of my mind. Can I really stop number 32? Is he going to get past me? Is the whole stands full of thousands of people going to see me down on the ground like all the other defensive tackles? Well, let me tell you, that's exactly what happened. First quarter, I don't know, I think he scored 2 touchdowns on us and more yardage than I want to think about. Every time he started to head toward me, that fear came up again. Oh, he's going to fake me out this way, fake me out that way. Going to run over me, and you begin to kind of freeze. You begin to kind of not know exactly what you were going to do. So before halftime, I can't remember exactly when, but the second quarter had already begun, and we were falling far behind thanks to number 32. And the coach brought us together in a timeout, and he told us about how we needed not to give up, not to let these 20 points on the board bother us too much. But he looked at myself and the other defensive tackle, and he said, this game is in your hands, boys. If you don't stop number 32, it's going to be an embarrassment. And then he said something that just has stuck with me for the rest of my life. Coaches do that. They say things like that. But he looked at me. I guess he was looking at the other tackle as well. But he said, what you need to understand is you've got to quit trying to stop number 32. And then he paused, and I was like, quit trying to stop him? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to stop him. It was like, what do you mean, quit trying to stop number 32? And then he said, and start believing you can stop him. Stop trying and start believing. Stop trying and start believing. Well, putting the helmet on, you're running back out there to get in the scrimmage lines again, and that just kept going in my ear. Stop trying and start believing. So I said, well, I don't have much else to lose anyway. He's already gotten past me so many times. And in my heart, I began to believe I could stop him. I began to say to myself, he's got nothing on me. He's not going to get past for me. He's going to eat dust. I'm going to make sure of it. I know I can do it. I know I can do it. I believe I can do it. And I just psyched myself up like that. The play began, and I ran through, and of course, as always, they were running this right flank left with him coming straight at me again after he got the handoff, and we were looking at each other eye to eye going straight for him. But for some reason this time, I just was free from my fear. I let my mind go and do what it wanted to do. In the past, I had tried to tackle the way we were taught to tackle. I tried to perform the classic tackle, which is in the middle, straight down. That's how we were told to tackle. In the middle, straight down. And if you did that to number 32, you always end up in the dust. So for some reason, I was inspired. Hit him high, hit him high. No coach would ever tell you to hit a runner like that high. Hit him up on the chest. Grab his shoulder pads. So that's what I did. I jumped up and grabbed his shoulder pads, and lo and behold, it was just like wrestling a bull at the rodeo. Down we went. And number 32 lost 3 yards. And I rose up from that tackle and I said, now I believe. I know how I can do it. Because I now know the truth. And for the rest of the game, he actually lost yards. And it angered him so much that one of the times I pulled him down, he turned around and kicked me with his spikes on. And that got a 15-yard penalty for the opposing team. Plus, it got him thrown out of the game. Oh, it was a happy day, and I still remember that. It's one of the great times in my football career. But the point is, we need to know this truth. All you need to do is to believe you've been healed. If you ask God to heal you, you just need to believe you have been healed. If you have grief, ask God to heal your grief and then believe that grief is gone. I don't know about it anymore. I won't let it touch me. I won't let it hurt me because it's not there anymore. If it's despair, God's taken that away. You don't need that despair anymore. God has given you a reason to have hope, and that's what you have. If it's fear, you're not afraid anymore. In other words, it's the idea of believing what God has already given you. You've got to believe what God has given you, or it will never happen. You'll never feel it. You'll just keep on going from day to day. Oh, I wish I could be healed of this. Oh, I wish I could be healed of this. Just like I was in that first quarter. Oh, I wish I could stop number 32. I wish I could stop him. You've got to stop trying to get rid of whatever it is that's ruining your soul and start believing that it's been taken away. So that's the third point that I would make today. That this is what we also need to know. So then, in conclusion, the whole thing we've got to realize about today's gospel reading is that Jesus comes to us just like he came to Bartimaeus. He comes to us. In whatever it is we're having to face, whatever difficulty we're having to deal with, he comes to us. And if we'll open our minds and hearts and listen with our heart, Jesus will say to every one of us, what do you want me to do for you? Please, when Jesus asks you what he can do for you, don't waste that opportunity. Don't say, oh, well, you know, I got this neighbor that gives me trouble. I wish you'd do away with him. Don't waste the opportunity. Ask God to heal your soul of your judgment of life. Ask him to heal your soul of your judgment of others and your judgment of your own condition. Ask him to do that. And then believe that he has. And you will hear him say, go, your faith has made you well. Amen. Let us rise now for our benediction. And now, may you go forth into this world, knowing that all is well with your soul, and can be well with your soul, for you walk with the great healer of your soul. Amen.